Good morning, everyone. As we gather here this morning to remember Mary Beth Mikrut, we know that the family is so appreciative of all of you who have come out this morning to be with them and to mourn with them. And as we do, we begin with the words of the Psalms. Adonai ma Adam v'teda'ehu, ben enosh v'techashvehu. Adam lehevel dama, yamav kitseil over. Baboker yatzitz v'chalaf, la'erev yimolel v'yavesh. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures." Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, they shall have peace. Adonai, you redeem the souls of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be desolate. Death has taken our beloved Mary Beth Mikrut. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Mary Beth's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and more we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Be continuing now with Psalm 23. And if you would like to read along with it in the English, you can find it in this book that's in some of the pews behind you or in front of you or nearby. Or if you know it, you can recite it with us. You will find it on page 576. 576. Of course, the book will open the Hebrew way. You might not expect that. And I'm going to first sing it in the Hebrew, and then you can join me in the English on that page. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bin odeshe yarbitzeni, amei menuchot yenachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek, למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני, לפני שולחן, נגד צוררי, נגד צוררי. דשנת, דשנת, דשנת בשמן Roshi Dishanta Vashemen Roshi Kosi Revaya Ach Tov V'Chesed Yirdefuni Kol Yemei Chayai V'shavti Beveit Adonai V'shavti Beveit Adonai Le'orech Yamim. Together in the English, a Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I lack nothing. God makes me lie down in green pastures. God leads me in places of repose. God renews my life. God guides me in right paths as befits God's name. Though I walk through a valley of deepest darkness, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table for me in full view of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My drink is abundant. Only goodness and steadfast love shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai for many long years. Kohelet wrote, "The eye never has its fill of seeing. Young or old, those who depart this life never see enough of the world, never complete their task, never cherish their loved ones enough before they are called home. How they yearn for yet another respite from the final summons, and how we yearned to have them close to us for yet another challenge in our lives, yet another joy, yet another precious moment together. God, be now with those whose hearts are broken, because whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. Console them at this hour. Be near to them when light seems distant. Sustain them, O God, until the time of healing." In his sorrow, Job cried out, "Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mivorach." God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of the shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. Yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. With Job, we say, "Adonai natan." God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust, before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and love as we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai mivorach. Blessed be the name of God now and forever. Let us take this moment to pray in silence. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. As we gather this morning to say our final farewells to Mary Beth, we are stunned that this day has finally arrived. Yes, we've known for a very long time, over a decade, in fact, that Mary Beth's cancer was life-threatening. And intellectually, of course, we knew that this day would come. But Mary Beth's indomitable zest for living kept this day from seeming like a reality to us and from taking the emotional leap to envision this moment. Today our hearts are broken. Our grief is palpable. We are one community mourning together the loss of the place that Mary Beth held in each of our lives. None, of course, feel this loss greater than family. And this time I'm going to be calling up family members to share. I'd like to begin with her brother Dave Glenn, who has a song he wants to share.
Good morning, everybody. So, excuse me. So Mary Beth taught me my first 4 chords, and she. I'm going to bring up my teleprompter here, just in case. And it's really just a crutch. I mean, I should know all the words of this song, but I sang it about 30 times yesterday. But she taught me my first 4 chords, and we were talking about memories with the rabbi the other day. There was always music in our house. My brother Pat played guitar, and we always had, both Mary Beth and Patrick had all these friends who played guitar and sang. And this was in the boom of the 1960s folk thing that was going on. So where you sang harmonies together, and we did a lot of that in our living room. But anyhow, one Sunday afternoon, the album 1700 came out by Peter, Paul, and Mary. I got to compose myself, but we worked on the song together. First of all, I would like to say a word or two. I know you won't be thinking this applies to you, but it's true, and it do. All your life, you have had to sing your song alone, not thinking anybody could have known. But you're wrong, and you know. And I need some help singing this. If you know it, you gotta sing it. I've got a song, let me sing it for you. Let me say it now while the meaning is true. But wouldn't it be good if we could sing it together? Don't be afraid to sing out your mind. Sing about the world that I know we can find. Wind them around and see how they sound like together. The song is love. The song is love. Oh, the song is love. The song is love. And last of all, I would like to thank you for the word or two spoken in the moment when I needed you to see me through. And they do. I've got a song, let me sing it for you. Let me sing it now while the meaning is true. Wouldn't it be good if we could say it together? Don't be allowed to sing out your mind. Sing about the joys that I know we can find. Wind them around and see how they sound like together. The song is love. 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 The song is love.
Thank you, Dave. This time I'd like to call up another brother, Patrick Glenn, to share.
Thanks, David. That was a wonderful, wonderful performance, a wonderful song. Dear family and friends, thank you all very much for being here. On Saturday, January 20th, the soul of our sister, mother, grandmother, and friend was released from the prison that her body had become in those final days. As many of you know, the past few days and weeks, and even the past several months, were very rough for Mary Beth. My brother Dave and I are so grateful to Chaz for the extraordinary efforts he made at every turn to ensure that she was as comfortable and as healthy as she could possibly be under the circumstances. And my sister told us time and again, he was a hero. As for Mary Beth, well, she was my tough guy younger sister. In all, as the Rabbi mentioned, it was a 10-year battle, and that she not only survived but thrived for so many of those years was a tribute to her courage, her strength of character, and her really unfailing affirmative approach to life. Just a couple of months ago in November, she posted a little meme on her Facebook page that curiously kind of encapsulated this life approach. The picture showed a little girl dancing by the sea, and the caption read, "We can't always choose the music life plays for us, but we can choose how we dance to it." And as perhaps many of you know, Mary Beth was a dancer, a really good dancer. She studied ballet as a child at one of the premier ballet schools of the world, Stone Cameron in Chicago, which was quite famous, along with her sister Nancy. And in addition to ballet, she did dance in amateur theater, particularly as a young adult. And there was also, by the way, Irish dancing. I can attest that well into middle age, my sister could dance one incredible Irish jig. Now, as her little post on Facebook suggested, despite all that her body had endured and was enduring at that time, she remained upbeat, joyful, and grateful for all that is wonderful in life. And this fortitude wasn't new. Almost from the moment she came into the world, my sister's life was a struggle against adversity and opposition and an effort to overcome it. As a little toddler, she had actually endured major surgery to correct the bone structure in her chest. In addition, she had a hearing impairment at first that was undetected, which was an inability to hear high-frequency sounds. As a result, she didn't hear phonemes and words normally, and therefore she learned to talk a language that only she and our mother understood. It wasn't until my mother brought young Mary Beth to a very smart nun at the nearby St. Xavier's College that this mysterious hearing impairment was discovered, and the nun taught her how to speak proper English. You know, we were all from Chicago, of course, but since the nun was from Boston originally, my sister had the good fortune to go through life with a very nice, slight Boston accent. But despite everything that might have been in her way, she was just a totally determined achiever. She started out college at St. Mary's College in Winona, Minnesota. She did so well that she was able to transfer to Northwestern, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Communications. And she loved learning a lot. She even earned a separate master's degree in fine arts from Lake Forest College while she was working full-time. And of course, she had a long and distinguished career in the nonprofit world, driven by her really outstanding organizational abilities and her special talent for fundraising. And as any of you have tried to raise money for a cause, you know fundraising is a very special talent indeed. She also gave generously of her talents and abilities, raising money and organizing as a volunteer for a wide range of causes and organizations, including, importantly, here at Beth Hillel. She also passed her knowledge on, devising a curriculum on fundraising for the University of Wisconsin-Parkside. But it also always seemed to me that her most special talent was for making and keeping friends. A friend is one of the nicest things that you can have and one of the best things that you can be, read one of her Facebook posts. Whenever I've had the pleasure to meet friends of Mary Beth, I've also always sensed the radiating warmth and trust of true friendship. And I was very happy that Janet, Mary Beth's oldest friend from childhood, was able to be with her for a week before she passed. Another important commitment that I sensed in Mary Beth was to Judaism. It seemed to me that in Judaism, she really blossomed, found her path, and came to feel very much at home. Of course, she was raised as a good Catholic girl, and she always told a cute story about her conversion. It was the day of her conversion ceremony, and she'd studied very hard, and she was quite nervous. And as she entered the synagogue, she suddenly caught herself doing what nervous Catholic girls used to do in those days, making the sign of the cross. But she was truly serious and committed. When she came to visit Gabrielle and me in Washington, D.C. in April of 2017, she was on her way to the Consultation on Conscience, which was a conference on politics and world events sponsored that year in Northern Virginia by the Religious Action Center for Reform Judaism. And of course, the commitment was reciprocated. Mary Beth was embraced in turn by a loving congregation here at Beth Hillel, and the monthly healing services for her that the rabbi conducted were just a huge consolation. But her greatest joy was her wonderful life with Chaz. In her words, Chaz is my rock, my lover, and an incredible partner as we continue to share this crazy life together. I am incredibly lucky. She loved living in Waterford and looking out on the river, gazing at the sunrises, the sunsets, and the beautiful swans. She really loved her life. And she was loved in turn. She was so proud of her sons, Jeffrey and David. Blessed to be their mom, she wrote. They're incredible individuals. Mary Beth was also so happy to embrace Chaz's family as her own, Greg and Stacy, Kristen and Brett, and loved her time with them most recently when they were all together in San Diego. And I know she felt it was a special privilege to become a grandmother to Greg and Stacy's Leo and Eva, and David and Molly's Mira and Levi. For Mary Beth, being a grandmother was a priceless gift, and the recent arrival of Levi was a special blessing. I always loved my little sister Mary Beth, and I admired who she became as an adult. She was a good, strong, and in the end, very wise and kind person. She was an inspiration to me. And as she looks down upon us here, I hope she knows how much she is loved and how much we will miss her.
Thank you, Patrick. And at this time, we'd like to call up Mary Beth's sons, David and J.R.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, I did not expect to get emotional over a Facebook meme this morning, but thank you. As Patrick mentioned, my mom was born Irish Catholic, and she was very proud of her Irish heritage. The Irish are very strong, and my mom was, of course, a fighter in every aspect of her life. When she converted to Judaism and became a Jewish mother, well, that only amplified her nature, believe me. She was always one to rise to the occasion and would never back down from a challenge. A story came to mind the past couple days that I just want to share. A family friend of ours wanted to approach my dad to coach a boys' Skokie youth basketball team. This friend happened to run into my mom first and mentioned that he was looking for my dad, Max, to see if he wanted to be a coach. My mom heard this, cocked her head, and immediately said, "Why are you looking for Max? I could do that." Our friend thought about it and agreed, and he said, "Yeah, I think you could." She looked at this as another fun, new endeavor to pursue, while also spending time with me and my friends, because that in and of itself brought her so much joy. She was also the only female coach in the league, which you better believe motivated her even more. Our family friends spent some time with her teaching different drills and the ins and outs of a sport that she had never even played, let alone coached. To everyone's surprise, we were undefeated that season. As I said, she was a fighter, so we really shouldn't have been that surprised. I still remember her running up and down the sideline screaming at us like she was Bobby Knight. Now, you would never believe she had that side to her if you saw her with her grandkids. My mom loved being a bubby to Leo, Eva, Mira, and Levi. I know you all know this because I saw you out in the lobby and you guys recognized Mira's face more than you knew my own. I'm so thankful that my mom was able to meet her newest grandchild, Levi, before she passed. He was born at the end of November, and sadly, my mom was hospitalized during the bris. But fortunately, she was able to Zoom into the service, and my wife and I asked her to read an Irish blessing for Levi. I want to read that blessing for her now. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall softly upon your shoulders. Till we are together again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. I love you, Mom. Morning, everyone.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Dave. My mom was a warrior. She went to the trenches every day, staring down a foe that would not relent, would not blink, would not sleep, would not go away. And yet every day she would wake up and live her life to the best of her ability because she was a warrior, because she was a survivor. She was first diagnosed with breast cancer back in the year 2000, went through rigorous chemotherapy treatments, and eventually cancer went into remission for many years. She survived. Then in 2013, they discovered the cancer had returned again, this time at stage 4. Once again, she continued working with Dr. Mikrut, her oncologist, on exactly which treatments would be best for her as time went on. If one treatment stopped working after so long, they would adjust the intensity of the treatment to make sure it was continuing to be effective. My mom lived another 10 years with stage 4 cancer after the second diagnosis. What we did not know at the time is that the oncologist had made a professional assessment he kept to himself about how much longer my mom possibly had left. His estimate, given his vast knowledge and expertise with various cancer diagnoses, was that my mom had 2 years left at that stage of cancer. I reiterate, my mom lived another 10 full, happy years at stage 4. My mom was a survivor, and she would not let anything stand in her way of living a full, beautiful life. But what does a survivor do to pass time? Why, make friends, of course. From all aspects of her life, her personality carried her far and wide to make as many friends as possible. Whether it was from various organizations she worked with, bike trips, the knitting clubs, or the childhood friends she had known for a redacted number of years, anyone and everyone who had met my mom at some point. If everyone's willing, I'd like to invite everyone to look around the room and just understand how connected we all are. Maybe you see a longtime mutual friend. Maybe you see someone my mom introduced you to. Maybe you see someone that my mom casually mentioned in a conversation one time. Maybe you see someone you have absolutely no idea who that person is. Whether you recognize a face or not, every last one of us has my mom in common. We are together today, right now, because she has brought us together. Because she survives through us and will always continue to do so. Being a warrior takes work. It takes time. It takes effort. Surviving every close call she had with oblivion is not easy. And yet, my mom made it seem as easy as breathing. May all be inspired to keep fighting for as long as she did, survive for as long as she did, bring together as many people as she did, and to hold her in our memory, not as a survivor of outrageous fortune, but as the warrior that stepped up every day to give cancer hell and live life to the fullest she could imagine. I love you, Mom.
Thank you both. Thank you both, David and JR, for that sharing. As you've heard from Mary Beth's family members, and as we have each experienced by knowing Mary Beth, she truly exemplified the words of the psalmist. Teach us to number our days, that we may grow wise in heart. Especially in these last years as Mary Beth confronted that second cancer diagnosis, but really throughout her life. As you've heard, Mary Beth was a person who made each day of life matter. Everything she did, she entered with her whole self, be it parenting, her professional roles, her participation in the arts, her conversion to Judaism, her many friendships and social connections, her volunteer work, hosting holiday gatherings, chaperoning travel for seniors, or being a grandmother. She didn't want to miss anything, and she rarely did, even in this last year which was so difficult from a health perspective. She made every day count from childhood on up to her very last days, and in so doing, Mary Beth did, as the psalmist said, grow a heart, a huge heart of wisdom. As you've heard, she had a challenging childhood, but from a very young age, perhaps because of the struggles she had, she was always persistent, energetic, and conscientious. These characteristics and her eternally positive outlook got her through so many tough phases of life, including her parents' divorce, caring for her mother until she died, breast cancer and mastectomy, her own divorce and being a single mother, return of the cancer and its metastasis, to name some of the really big ones. And it was her ever-optimistic nature that enabled her to collect and maintain so many friends, of which we've heard, and to start again after her divorce and breast cancer, and to find love with Chaz 20 years ago. Mary Beth was a hard worker, and she always had a job. As a young woman, she was a waitress. She did office work and typed college term papers at Northwestern. As a professional woman, she did fundraising and development work, heard about the various positions that she had, and the program she developed at UW Parkside. But I want to tell you how she helped our congregation. She helped Beth Hillel raise $1.5 million to enable our building to become fully accessible in its 90th year. So this was just in 2018. We finished this incredible project that brought us the elevator and the accessible restrooms and the accessibility ramp in the front of the building and the whole renovation of this space that we're in right now. There were many, many people involved, but believe me, that never would have happened had it not been for Mary Beth. She taught us how to raise funds for a major campaign. What the great medieval Jewish scholar Maimonides said about charity, that the highest level of charity is to help someone become self-sufficient. This is what Mary Beth did for us at Beth Hillel. She didn't raise funds for us. She taught us how to do it on our own. And we are still reaping the benefits of her pedagogy to this day. While so many people feel bereft on this day, none are more stricken than Mary Beth's dear family. Patrick and Dave, along with your sister Nancy. You shared music and singing and theater and the arts with Mary Beth growing up. You saw her devotion to family as she gave up a year of school to be a caregiver for your mother and take care of the family. And we know your grief is great. And JR and David, you've lost a dear mother who was wonderful, creative, and supportive, bringing all of her talents and skills to bear for you. It wasn't just the basketball, which was amazing, but joining the PTA, sewing costumes, making scrapbooks, reading Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins at school with your father, Max, hosting friends at the lake house, and even risking the ire of the police patrolling the lake on a pontoon boat one time. And then, of course, she became the loving mother-in-law and the loving stepmother to so many in the family, and of course, the doting grandmother, of which you've already heard. And Chaz, what can we say? We know that you found or refound, to those who know the story, the love of your life 20 years ago. And to hear Mary Beth talk about what you brought to her life was to witness pure joy. Many, many people enjoyed Mary Beth's gifts of laughter, generosity of spirit, and joie de vivre, including even the nursing staff that she befriended at the cancer clinic and in Glenbrook Hospital. But you, Chaz, were her everything in these last decades. And she was yours. And our hearts go out to you in your loss and grief. As for the rest of us, we are grateful. Grateful that Mary Beth numbered her days and that God granted her a heart of wisdom. For we have known the gifts of that heart. Zichona livracha, may her memory always serve as a blessing. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. May the memory of Mary Beth Mikrut endure among us as a blessing in your own time, O God, when we too are called to enter eternity. May we leave this life secure in the faith that in your light we shall see light. In life and in death we cannot go where you are not, and where you are, hope endures. Sustained by this assurance, we invoke your name, Almighty God. I'll ask those who are able to please rise as I chant the traditional Jewish memorial chant, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShrina, Im Kadoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mashirim, Et Nishmat Esther Bat Avraham Vesara, Shehalcha Leolama, Baal Harachamim, Yastireha Beseter Kenafav Leolamim, Bitzror, Bitzror HaChaim, Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Mary Beth Mikrut Esther bat Avraham v'Sarah, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. I'll ask you to remain standing as we continue with the words of the Kaddish prayer. I'll read a meditation prior to the Kaddish. It is contained on the small cards that you may have picked up in the lobby, although I must say the print is very small, so I don't know if you'll be able to see the transliteration that's printed there. When I get to the Kaddish, if you still have that prayer book nearby, you'll find it a little bit larger on page 598. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. And yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under divine protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirit with an abiding trust in you. We continue with the words of the Kaddish prayer. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabah, be'alma divarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye chon u'v'yomei chon u'v'chaye decho beit Yisrael. Pa'agala u'v'zman kari v'imeru amen. Yehei shemei rabah mevarach la'alam u'lamei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit alal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imeru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us, and let us say, this concludes our service. At this time, there will be a meal of condolence in the Beth Hillel Social Hall, 2 floors below. I'd like to ask those present to allow the family to exit out this way before you yourselves exit. And then when you reach the hall, we will be saying a blessing over the food. We'll ask the family to help themselves, the mourners to help themselves to the food first, because it is a meal of condolence for them, which you are then invited to share when they've taken their plates. If you're so inclined, we will have another service this afternoon at 1:30 here in the sanctuary as we begin the process of the 7-day mourning period in Judaism known as Shiva. This concludes our service.